Hello, Michael Swain here after Kansas basketball's 62-60 win over Iowa State here inside of Allen Fieldhouse. And this is just the Big 12 this year, where every single game is going to come down to the finest of margins. Who is going to execute down the stretch of these close games? And today it was Kansas that was able to execute down the stretch of this one. KU improves to 5-0 in the Big 12. They now have a one-game advantage over Iowa State and Kansas State. Kansas State lost on the road to TCU earlier today, and this was a performance of a team that can go on to win the Big 12. It goes without saying that Kansas is expected to do that, but I think this week in a game like this shows that they can. Bill Self said something interesting after, where he pointed out that he felt like his team played really well and that Iowa State played really well. And I think if you look at the overall numbers, it shows you where there was some give and take in terms of this matchup, and I think it's why it turned out to be such a fascinating game with so many blows and momentum shifts. I think it starts with the shot attempts. Iowa State shoots 12 more shots than Kansas, and that comes via 13 offensive rebounds. But where Kansas was able to limit what Iowa State was able to do is on those second chance points. Iowa State finished with 6, despite the fact that they had those 13 offensive rebounds. You think about a team scoring on half of those possessions, and you're talking about 12 points, 14 points. Instead, they get 6. And I think for Kansas, that's an area going forward, rebounding, especially defensively. Can they consistently do that? And on the other end of the floor, you look at Kansas really taking care of the basketball. Iowa State's one of the best teams in the country at forcing you to make mistakes. Entering this game, they had a turnover rate of about 30%, and they were averaging about 20 turnovers forced per game. Kansas turned the ball over 12 times and averaged a turnover rate of 20%. Now, DeJuan Harris didn't score in this game, and I think if you look at the box score, it may not look maybe super pretty, but I think Kansas, if they didn't have DeJuan Harris, this game goes completely differently. He had some turnovers, yes, but throughout the game he was very poised, and I think at times Iowa State's pressure can get to teams. And for a team like Kansas, that when Bobby Pettiford's on the floor with Kevin McCullough, you've got guys that can handle the ball, but maybe don't have the feel of the game that DeJuan Harris does. And I think it showed you just how important he was. Now let's get to Grady Dick. Another incredible performance from the freshman. He's found life hard early in Big 12 play. I think teams have really figured out that, hey, if we can limit what Grady Dick can do, we can really limit what Kansas can do offensively in terms of the ceiling of what they can score. You saw it against Oklahoma, where they really face guarded him, made it really hard for him to get anything. I think Iowa State tried that a little bit, but I think Grady Dick's off-ball movement was so much better this time around, and that shows improvement from game to game. And it's something that he said was, hey, a point of emphasis for them heading into this contest. And you saw it. He was able to get free multiple times. I'd say it's probably the most free he's been in several games. I think it's a tribute to his off-ball movement. He makes 5 threes. After he went 0 of 3 to start the game, he went 7 for 10 for the rest of the game. That's how good he was. 21 points. KU does not win this game without Grady Dick making some big time shots. And then I think you look at KJ Adams again. Another double-digit performance from him. 10 straight games where he's done that. He's been very consistent. He forces the opposing team's big men to guard in a different way than maybe they are used to in Big 12 play. And I think that type of curveball is a really good thing for Kansas to have. So I think overall this is a game where two teams came in, played really well. Kansas was able to execute down the stretch, and even though that final play, Bill Self said that they kind of screwed it up in terms of the defensive look, Caleb Grill misses it, Kansas improves to 5-0, and now all of a sudden you've got a really big matchup with Kansas State on Tuesday. As always, we'll have you covered with all sorts of the coverage from this game. Recruiting's picking up on both KU basketball and KU football, so make sure you're staying tuned to Fog.net.